Live from the R&R Studios in the good old friendly city, it's the Boys from the Wheel podcast.
What is going on, guys? Welcome in to the R&R Studios for another edition of Boys from the Wheel podcast. It's just the dynamic duo today, John and myself. Everybody else,
the Robin and my Batman.
Yeah, okay. That's flipped, and you know it. But let's see. Let's describe. Chris is doing his normal PA announcing. Sean is there with him, cheering him on, so that's awesome. We got some video from Sean earlier. He's literally right in the box. And then, did you say Jordan is at a murder mystery?
Yeah, it was some kind of murder mystery party.
Sounds like he's playing a giant game of Clue.
Yeah. Hopefully there's alcohol involved.
Normally with those are. So gotta be if he's there. Let me put it that way. so anyway, big episode for us today. We got a person that looks over talent. I wouldn't say a talent, but I mean he is a talent, but somebody that looks over talent. He's the director of player personnel for the National Scouting Combine, and also the director of player personnel for the 2024 AAL2 champion Wheeling Miners. We want to welcome in Jay Wilson to the show. Jay, how we doing?
Hey, good. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, fantastic. So let's pick it up real quick. You're the player personnel director for many of things. How did the job in Wheeling come about?
Well, it's kind of funny. I saw in the newspaper where the Wheeling Miners were going to come into existence. So I thought, okay, they're close by. I would like to be involved with them if I can. All right. So it just so happened my wife sent me a text message one day while she was at work, and she said, hey, the Wheeling Miners are holding a tryout. So, one thing led to another. I had an opportunity to talk with Coach Rez, talked with Daryl, and, I told Daryl, I said, I want to come in, I want to help, whatever you need me to do. And I told him what my background was. And then between some messages between myself and Coach Rez decided that he would like to be involved in the National Scouting Combine. So we all went to Indianapolis. We got to know each other over a week when you don't have anything to do but sit around at a bar in the hotel lobby. You get to know each other. And one thing led to another. And Coach Rez and I, talked about it. And I said, I'd like to help any way I can. And we thought me being director of player personnel would be a good move for me. And, it works out. I kind of have inside access to players, same way Rez does. Rez has been around this game for a long time. I've been around this game for probably 55 years between playing and coaching and everything else. So with the National Scouting Combine, I have a built-in base of players that we can get. I have the last 10 years of data on players that I have all their contact information. I have everything on them. So if we need a player, it's easy for me to find them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing. I remember that day because we were at tryouts and you walked in and I'm like, what is going on? Who is this? And that was our first interaction. You and I actually met each other that day, and it's been love ever since. And then, meeting your son and learning his story as well, and getting to know you guys. A lot of people don't know that you actually got to know Anthony Prevost pretty good before that. You actually helped him in the 2019 season.
Yes. Yeah. When he was with the other team that was in Wheeling, the team that will remain unnamed, but he had one foot on a banana peel and the other one was out the door. Yeah. And it was funny how it came about. He missed a kick in a game. Myself and a couple of my boys were at the game, and we were on the other side of the stadium from where the players are, and he missed a kick. And I looked at my oldest son, who's a kicker. I said, I got to go help him. And he's like, where are you going? I said, I'll be back. I walked all the way around the arena, sat down behind him, grabbed his shoulder pads, and started talking to him. And the whole time he's thinking, who the hell is this guy? You know, but he paid attention. He said something inside of him said, I need to listen. And fortunately, you know, he started making kicks. And it was just a simple mental type little deal that I did with him. But he started making kicks, and he swears the championship ring he has on his finger from them is because I took the time to go around there and talk to him. It didn't have anything to do with that. He's a good kicker. He was just a little bit in a slump. But and then Anthony also got involved with the National Scouting Combine after that. Came in as to help out coaching and everything. Actually participated in it as a free agent, and he's been going ever since. So, you know, it's everybody's connected somehow.
Yeah. So talk about that. Those that don't know, what exactly is the National Scouting Combine?
The National Scouting Combine is the baby brother of the NFL Combine. All right, the NFL brings in about 320 guys to the NFL Combine. We try to test the other 10,000 guys out there, you know, that don't get a look. Our main focus are FCS, Division II, Division III guys that aren't on TV every Saturday, and they're not getting the looks that they need to get. What we do is they run through the Combine the same way as it's done at the NFL. Everything is laser timed. We run all the same drills. We do everything just like the NFL Combine does. And it allows us to put a report together to send out to all the leagues. And we end up with guys that have had invites to the NFL, that are playing in the CFL. That Tyler Kolka, a quarterback that came to us 2 years ago, has been the MVP over in Japan for the last 2 years, to the point where this year they actually bought the kid a house for him and his wife to live in, and they're paying him an outrageous sum of money. I'll tell all the guys out there, if you get an opportunity to play in Japan, go play in Japan. The problem is they're only allowed 3 international players. So once somebody gets over there, they don't leave. They insist on staying over there because everything is so good for them. The pay is good. The housing conditions are great. Tyler, I tried to get Tyler at our event this past year, but he was flying out back to Japan because until you've been there, I believe you have to be there 2 years. You can't have a visa unless you're in the country X number of days. So he was coming up on that deadline, so he had to fly out. But, you know, we have guys playing in every league across the United States, Canada, Europe. We send a lot of guys to the pro ranks. They might not all be going to the NFL, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, a lot of notable minors that were on this championship team came from that scouting combine.
About 8 of them, yeah. You know, it's Jeremiah Flores. He lit it up in the AAL, and he was one of our guys, and he's one of those guys that has the talent. You know, Andre Cobb. Andre came into our event, and I told a couple of scouts, I said, I tell you what, this kid played at a no-name school, but he's an absolute stud. And I was upset that some of the higher leagues didn't give him a better look, because the kid can flat out play.
Yeah, his speed is unreal. Like, his speed shocks you. Like, because
oh, yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah, he's fast. He is fast.
Yeah, I remember he ran a route, and Grant went to throw the ball, and he was like, "Oh crap, I gotta get that ball out because he's quicker than I think he is."
Yeah. Yep. And you know, it's Joel Zellum. Joel came to our event right before the season started, and you know, Coach Red saw him, and we talked to him at the event and everything, and you know, he was an offensive lineman. We were short some other positions at the combine. He said, "Well, I could do that." He started playing fullback. Then he caught some passes. Then he played some defense. We're like, you know, this kid can play.
That's awesome. John?
So when you're you know, looking at players before you go to, you know, give your recommendation or whatever to Coach Rez on guys you think you should sign, what are some of the things you guys are looking for?
You know what? As much as I hate to admit it, and I try not to get blinders, but if a guy has good size, I'm going to take a look at him. All right. Then from there, I go and look at film. I'll decide how he moves, everything like that. If a defensive back, it doesn't matter to me if a defensive back is 5'7" or if he's 6'5". It doesn't matter. If he's got good hips, he can move with a receiver. You know, there's a lot of different factors that go into it. I've seen guys that if you look at the list that the NFL puts out, the NFL puts out a list of parameters where for each position. All right. And if they actually followed those parameters, 80% of the guys that are in the league right now wouldn't be playing because they don't meet those parameters. You know, but because teams have such a large quantity of players, free agents, draft eligibles, everything like that, at some point they have to draw a line on the whiteboard. And that line is based on size. And sometimes guys that fall underneath that can play. And they just don't get that opportunity because, you know, you can't teach size. You can't. Right. You know, you can take somebody that's undersized and teach them what they need to do, and they can play. But I think what I look at most is athletic ability. I could take an athlete and teach an athlete how to play football. I can't take a football player and teach them how to be an athlete. It doesn't work that way. And not to jump on the National Scouting Combine again, but we test athleticism. We're not just testing football players. We test athletes for USA bobsled, USA rugby. All, you know, we're across the board. It doesn't matter what sport they're playing or what event they're doing. We test what their athletic ability is, and we give them a grade on that. And certain guys across the board, those grades we give them might be an indoor player, might be a CFL player, might be an NFL player. Every one of those guys have hit those parameters. So obviously something we're doing is correct. You know, we just need somebody to buy into it at the higher levels and say, yeah, hey, we like this. And then we all can quit our job and do what we like to do. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's all of us. I mean, that's
right. You know, and we have some things in the works, which I can't divulge yet because we don't have contracts signed or anything like that. But it could conceivably change how the indoor arena game is recruited. Let's put it that way. You know.
Yeah. Hey, I like that. So speaking of the indoor arena game, talk about the decision and when it was like, hey, this was a really good decision about bringing in Dante Mason.
Realistically, if you handed me Dante's size and his numbers like that, probably would have overlooked Dante Mason.
Right.
All right. However, when you watch his game film and you see him play live, they're I can't believe that we were able to get him, because it was just he that much of a force on defense. There's nothing that young man can't do.
No,
He's got a couple little things. Now, let's face facts. He's a little bit undersized. So
right.
when he's guarding a 6'4" wide receiver, he's got to do things a little bit differently. And he's learning how to do that. And in the process, he's becoming a much better defensive back. If you can become better than Defensive Player of the Year, but that's what he's doing.
It's just a crazy story. I mean, we go into practice and you're like, "Hey, we just signed Dante Mason," and I'm like, "Really?" Like, okay, and I'm like, "All right, like that's cool." I was like, "Wait a minute, doesn't he play for the Stampede? We just beat them like 58-0." Like, and Coach Matt was like, he's like, "I'm telling you, he's the best field corner I have seen," and I'm like, "All right," and I watched him one-on-one with Cobb, and I'm like, "Yep, that's good enough for me." Like, I watched him shut it down, and I'm like, "Yep." And then they were doing Skelly, and he baited freaking Grant into a pass and picked him, and I was like, nobody picks off Grant. Like, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was a no-brainer. I mean, it really was, and the same thing with Pete Savridis.
Right.
We beat them all over the place, but I was watching the game and I'm sitting there and I'm like, that kid can play.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't have anybody around him to help him. So, I made the phone call and said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming?" I said, we haven't said anything to AJ yet, but would you be interested in coming to Wheeling? And we had a couple of conversations, and Rez and I talked about it, and Rez said, "Do you really want him?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, tell him to come." So that's how we ended up with him.
And then those guys are coming back next year, which is awesome. It was really funny because those experiences were hysterical to me, because we did the coaches show on Wednesdays, and you would show up at Generations. And before everybody got there, you and I were like the first two there. And I'm like, all right, who are we looking at now? Like, it became a conversation every week, because I'm like, I need to study up, because I got to call these guys on Saturday, and I got to know who I'm calling, because it sounds like somebody else knew.
Hey, that's the nature of the beast in this, and especially in the AAL, because guys come and go so quickly. Look at Khalil Finley.
Right.
We love the guy, but at that time, that was the best move for him.
Right.
Now, Khalil's back.
Yeah.
He missed out on something that was big. And I told Rez about halfway through the year, I said, "You know what?" I said, "I don't know what you're doing all the time, but you're creating a monster here."
Yeah.
And that's what I've been fortunate to be a part of.
I'm sure, after every week, your inbox was getting slammed with film and, "Hey, can you look at this? Can you get this in front of somebody?"
I still get it. I get it all the time. I have players. I had one young man from out of Columbus, a wide receiver, was one of the first guys I reached out to. Rez and I are in a meeting at over across from the arena, and we're sitting there talking, and he said, "Who do you have on your list?" And I told him, and he goes, "Okay, have you called him?" I said, "No, go call him." I called the kid. I had him signed. I was ready to go. He decided not to come and play. I get 2 or 3 messages a week now from him saying, "Hey, do you have a spot? Do you have it?" "No, I offered you a contract and you didn't come up."
Yeah.
I hate to be the bad guy, but I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't keep my job if I bring in guys that can't perform. Let's face facts. It's a result oriented business, and I like doing this. Whether would I like to be doing it full time for a team? Sure, but until that happens, I like doing it. I like being able to help young players that may not get a shot anywhere else to come out, live their dream. You know what? It's not about the money. It's about saying you're a professional football player. And some of these guys, I saw a stat a couple of years ago, and it sticks with me. You've got 50,000 high school players every year, and out of that 50,000, 7% play college football, and out of that 7%, less than 1% play pro football at any level. It's not just the NFL; it's any level. So if you're less than that 1%, hey, take it and run. Play as long as you can play. I would kill back when I was playing to have had arena football, to have had some of these other leagues that are out there to have an opportunity. When I was playing, you had the NFL, you had the CFL, and you had the beginning of the original USFL. All right, so but back then you could pick up the phone and call the NFL teams. All the phone numbers were in the phone book. You could pick it up and call. Say, hey, you got any openings? Can I try out? I had the opportunity to try out with the Dallas Cowboys with Tom Landry. I had the opportunity to sign with the Washington Federals in the USFL. I had the opportunity to try out with the Atlanta Falcons. None of that would have been possible today. It just wouldn't have been.
John?
Yeah, so sorry. Go ahead, Jeff. I got a tickle.
So let's talk about the scouting combine has always been in Indianapolis, and they're talking about moving it to Florida this year, correct?
Yes, we are moving to Naples, Florida, first week of February, and that came about. It's expensive to run this event. All right, a lot of people think we're a multi-million-dollar company, and we're not.
Right.
We barely able to pay the bills some years, but Naples. We have some connections down in Florida, and Naples really wanted us to come in. They have a facility that's outstanding. It's got 2 or 3 fields, and so Great Wolf Lodge. They just built a Great Wolf Lodge down there. They're $500-600 a night. But because they want us to bring our event to Naples and they want us to use the Great Wolf Lodge, they're giving it to us for like $149 a night.
Wow.
So it's a big deal. They want us down there. Indianapolis wants us there. But the facility that we ran it at in Indianapolis, at Grand Park, was the training facility for the Indianapolis Colts. They're like $500 an hour.
Oh.
And you're doing a whole week, and you're on the field for 8 hours a day, and then if you borrow a table, it's another $25. If you use a chair that's sitting there, it's another $25. And it just, we finally looked at it and said, you know what, we need to see if we can cut some corners somewhere.
Right. Well, I mean, that's exciting for you guys. I mean, you go from Indianapolis to Florida. I mean, that's exciting. Like, that's a little bit easier to tell.
Yeah. We go from I think 2 years ago we left the hotel and there was 6 inches of snow on the ground and it was like 15 degrees. Naples, even though we're doing it outdoors, they get no rain. The average temperature in February is in the mid 60s. So, it's going to be a lot more fun.
Yeah, for sure. John,
Yeah.
you good over there?
Yeah, I'm good now.
Maybe we can get Jim to show up.
Yeah, hey, I mean, he's right there. I mean, he's in Jacksonville, so I mean, he's in the state. So I mean, he
Right. And that's another factor. We could literally draw draft eligibles and free agents strictly from Florida and probably fill up the event.
yeah, no doubt there. That's
Yeah, huge,
that's
huge
a big
talent pool down
pipeline.
there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back to the National Scouting Combine a little bit, and you personally. You mentioned it a little bit a few minutes ago, but why keep doing this? Why keep working with the players and scouting? Why do you keep going on?
Because every time one of those kids signs a pro contract, it's like one of my own kids signing a pro contract. We have a kid right now up in the CFL who is just lighting it up as a wide receiver. I message him quite often and say, "Hey, great game, keep doing what you're doing." And it's all about helping the players. What you have to realize is Jimmy Kibble, who is the CEO of the company, Jimmy was a punter at Virginia Tech. He came out of Virginia Tech, went with the New England Patriots as a kicker behind some guy named Vinatieri. I don't know.
I wonder how that turned out.
but the funny part about it is, from what I understand, one day one of the punt returners needed somebody to hit some kicks for him so he could get some work in. And Jimmy said, "I'll do it." So he was punting to the guy, and Bill Belichick and one of the scouts is walking across the field, and Belichick goes, "Isn't that our kicker that we brought in?" And the guy said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, now he's our punter. Send the other guy home." Unfortunately for Jimmy, he tore all the ligaments in his ankle like 4 days before the Hall of Fame game that he was supposed to play in. So, rehab, he'd been with the Jets. He played in NFL Europe. He played in the original AFL. He's been around the game a long time. So in 2010, he decided he wanted to try to do something to help players get connected with teams, pro scouts, that type of thing. Started Beyond Sports Network, which was kind of like LinkedIn, but for athletes. And then it evolved into the National Scouting Combine, where we actually run a combine event. The last couple of years, we've put in a showcase game for the draft eligibles to come in and play. So it's growing gradually. Like I said, we're looking for one of those Nikes, Under Armours, somebody like that to come in and say, "We love what you're doing. Let us help," and then we can really do it the way it's supposed to be done. We would love to bring in, 300 guys at no cost, but we have bills to pay.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we have to charge the players to come in.
Now you see, like the league, like the NFL, expanding more into other countries. Ireland, Brazil, London. You see them going other places and playing games. I'm trying to spread the game a little bit, but you guys are already kind of doing that. The scouting combine, like you said, you've got players into leagues in Europe, Japan, all over the country.
Yeah, I mean we do. We send players all over. We've had players from Europe come to our event to try to get into American football. We had a young kid out of South Africa that came in, a phenomenal athlete. The problem was he was 5'6", 140 pounds.
There's that size thing again.
Yeah, but he was a super nice kid. You just hate to. sometimes you just got to look at them and say, maybe you should find another job, and you hate to do that.
Yeah.
But we actually had a parent tell us a few years ago, said, do you know what you guys do? And we kind of looked at him, kind of showing, and he said, you guys are saving these young men money, because you're letting them know that this is not a path for you. You need to quit spending money, go and do all this stuff. Move on with your life, and that kind of put it in perspective.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that hard truth.
Yeah, those are tough conversations to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. I look at the list of guys we got coming in, the 32 or 33 guys we coming in for training camp, and I'm like, I don't want to cut any of these guys.
Right.
So we have an A team and a B team.
If you'd want to fund that,
but Willie Miners A, Willie Miners B. We'll play whichever team based on who we're playing.
Only
against Coach Negron and Carolina, we'll play the B team.
There it is. I was waiting on it.
Well, no, his Halloween joke of 50-7. First off, there is no way in hell Coach Mott's going to give up 50 points. No. And there's no way in hell Grant Russell's only going to score 7. It's not going to happen.
Hey, I agree. I mean, in the way, they're talking about Leota, I've seen him work before. There's no way he's not going to put up more than 7 points.
Great. Coach Leota and Grant Russell could put up 7 points if they didn't have anybody else on the field other than those two. I don't know.
Probably put it up in the locker room. I mean, Oh my goodness. So let's talk about that. So you're looking at players. Has it changed from last year to this year, or you just set a standard and hey, this is how we look at people and this is who we're looking for?
It changed a little bit. It was kind of, I mean, you were around it last year. We had a great group of players.
Yeah.
And so once we determined which guys were coming back for sure, then we start to plug in players from other places that we can get. All right. Now, when you see it on the board, you need 3 of this position and 7 of this position and 7 of this position. Now, it works out a lot of times. Sometimes it doesn't. We may have, instead of having 7 offensive linemen come in, we may have 8 or 9. At quarterback, we would like to bring 3 into camp, but we really don't need 3 because we know who QB1 is.
Right.
Right. And you can only, chances are you can only play 1 in a game or just 1 in a game because of numbers. However, Hassan Brockman, who can play any place you want him on the field, is a big pickup for us.
Mm-hmm.
Brockman is an athlete. So there's your backup quarterback, as well as a defensive back, as well as a wide receiver. Probably if you ask Hassan if he can go in there and block for a couple of plays, he'd probably do it.
Well, there's that size.
Yeah, there's that size problem, right? I tried all last year to let Coach Red have Coach Red let me kick in a game. He wouldn't do it.
I remember.
I've heard stories. I want to see him play quarterback a game.
Rez, oh man, yeah. I'm telling you, Jay can attest to that. He's tearing them defensive backs up in practice.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's funny to watch it because he'll throw the ball and start laughing because he knows he already beat him.
Yep.
It's not even You know,
That's hysterical. That is so funny. Yeah, he'll talk crap doing it. Like that's the best thing is the the doing that. My question to you, and you don't have to mention any names, obviously, but is there somebody last year or this year that you were really high on that you were trying to pursue and they didn't sign a contract and they never came?
yes, there is. Yes, there is.
Right?
And well, the story behind it, he's a very, very good player. And, I talked to him and said, look, we're signing you. Don't do anything stupid. We're signing you back. Rez talked to him and told him the same thing. But he hadn't received a contract. And he panicked and went to another team. And I messaged him and said, hey, what the hell are you doing? Coach, I got to be honest. I panicked. I hadn't heard anything. I was afraid I wasn't going to play. I said, I told you that we were signing you. Said, if I tell you that and Coach Rez tells you that, guess what? You're coming back to us.
Yeah.
But, I understand where he's coming from. In this game, sometimes you have to be proactive, but it was one of those situations where I wish he would have picked up the phone and called me and said, okay, what's the deal? Because what these players don't understand is I'm very busy. I work a 50-hour-a-week job, and Coach Rez is very busy with coaching high school, doing all the GM stuff that he's got to do, getting sponsors on board, getting tickets sent out, everything like that. The contract to him, once he tells a player, we're going to sign you, in his head, that's a contract.
Right.
It's just a matter of him finding 5 minutes to sit down at a computer and send it to you. And sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes I have to, hey, did you send the contract yet? Hey, did you send the contract yet? Yeah. But I hope the young man has a good season, except if we play him. But he would have been another big asset for us coming back.
Yeah.
It's not a dire situation. It's funny when Rez and I talk sometimes, I'll say, yeah, we really need to get this kid. And he's like, dude, we're not in any bad shape. Why? I said, okay, we don't need to get him, but I'd really like to get him. Like, and some of these players that I really push for, I don't even know if they'll make the roster.
Right.
We got Tariq Bateman coming in, 6'7", 300+ pound offensive lineman. I like the kid. The kid's film is incredible. Played with the Edmonton Elks. Did we absolutely need him? Was it a crucial thing? No, it wasn't, because we're pretty solid. But he's a good addition to the team. Unless he comes in and totally craps down his leg, I expect him to make the roster.
Yeah. John.
Yeah. I say that about kickers all the time. I push for kickers all the time. And I'm like, you know what? Unless he comes down and poops on his foot, he can play. But there's a lot of guys that look really good, and then you start putting a chart on them, you start putting a rush on them, and they can't hit the broadside of a barn.
The fans start talking to him.
Oh, dude, you have no idea.
He actually does. He actually does. Did you? So when we had Grant on here, I had him tell the story. He may or may not have helped out small smidgen in the playoff game against Jersey, caused the interception. John.
All right, so I was chirping at the wide receiver that was on. It was on my side, so it would have been on the left side of the offense. And
Yeah.
I was chirping at him and didn't get anything. And then I told him, the moment's too big for you. You're going to piss down your leg. And he turned and looked at me and started laughing. Got off the ball late, and then they threw it at him. And that's when Mason picked it and took it.
Yeah. Right. You know, people don't realize coming into our house how loud that is. I'm deaf. I mean, God's honest truth. I am deaf. You can talk to me right face to face. If I'm not looking at you, I might not hear you. But that building is rocking.
Mhm.
I mean, it just, we have some great fans, and they will chirp with the best of them.
Mhm.
You know.
Sure. That's hysterical. But I have one final question for you, and it goes to the championship game. Can we talk about your unsportsmanlike conduct penalty that you got, and you weren't even in the game?
Well, you know, and I told the referee, I said, you know what? I haven't had a penalty called on me in years. I've had some yellow cards when I was coaching soccer, but I haven't had a penalty called on me for years. It just so happened that we had somebody out on the field that shouldn't have been on the field and was getting ready to get in a fight. I jumped over the boards, grabbed him, got him back to the bench. I got a flag for going on the field. I don't know. I apologize to Coach Rez about it.
Well, he was laughing about it, I'm sure.
Oh, at that point, you just can't. Players have to learn,
Right.
and it's something that as you get older, you figure out. Once you lose your temper, you're out of the game. It doesn't matter what sport it is.
Yeah. As soon as you're done mentally, you're done.
And once you get pissed off and start thinking with that mindset, you're no longer playing.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it's football, baseball, it doesn't matter. So they have to learn that from whistle to whistle, you go as hard as you can, as clean as you can, and then afterwards it doesn't matter. Let them say whatever they want to. With the Wheeling Miners, simple response is point to the scoreboard and turn around, walk back to the huddle.
Yeah. That, and let the fans do the talking. They do.
Right. You got 4,000. You got 4,000 people in there on your side. Just let it go. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. The whole scheme of things, it's just a game.
Yeah.
Can't take anything personal. I had to go out in the semifinal game. Had to go out and grab a player at the end of the game.
Well, you and I were pregame. We were shoulder to shoulder pregame, trying to get Mason and Coach and everybody.
Right. It's one thing. I'm like, we don't need anybody thrown out before we even kick off.
Right.
It doesn't matter. They can come in and talk all the crap they want to. And they did.
Yeah.
But they had absolutely no chance whatsoever of beating us. None.
Yeah. I just know because these big guys, and you got Jay and I going, okay, we need to get out of here.
Yeah,
no fear in either one of us. We're both 5'0". Like, we're just like, ah.
Hey, it wouldn't be the first fight I ever got into on a field.
Right.
I'll tell you a story. I was playing semi-pro football, and we played our games on a minor league baseball field. Okay, I'd been dating my wife for a little bit. She was in the stands. Next thing you know, both benches clear. Helmets are being swung. Guys, they actually brought police out on horseback to break up the fight. Okay. That's how bad it was. Myself and one of the other kickers, we'd gone over and sat in the dugout because we weren't going to be involved in it. It wasn't going to happen. I looked out of the dugout. My wife, or my future wife, was looking at me, and I'm waving like I'm good. I'm not stupid. but we had a center. His name was Sugar Bear, and Sugar Bear had played the NFL. And next thing you know, Sugar Bear swinging his helmet. And afterwards, I said, Sugar, what were you thinking? He said, hey, the guy took it off my head. I figured I was going to use it. I'm like, semi-pro ball is built different.
Yeah, you ain't a kidding. You ain't a kidding. That's true. Oh my God,
By the time you get to semi-pro ball, you're done with your career. You're just out there to have fun at that point.
Yeah, you don't give a shit. You're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
That's hysterical. Well, Jay, we appreciate you coming on with us. This has been an awesome episode. What's next for you? You obviously were getting into the off season and then scouting combine, right?
Yeah, I'm currently in the process. I mean, I'm still looking at some players for the minors, but realistically, I'm kind of backing off of that a little bit until we do our tryout in January, because we want to leave a little bit of space in case we find somebody there that we can put on the roster. But my big focus right now is finding guys that we want to invite to the National Scouting Combine.
Right. These guys that, are diamonds in the rough. So, if you're at a small school or anything like that, Jay and his guys, they'll find you. They'll definitely get you in front of the right people. So, Jay, we appreciate it. We appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely have you on again once we get closer to the season and more things and, talk about these other players. But, guys, this has been another episode of Boys from the Wheel podcast. Catch all the episodes replayed back on Facebook and our YouTube channel. Episodes are always live on Facebook, YouTube, and now Twitch. And then, obviously, if you guys want to get a hold of us and become one of these awesome people down here at the bottom that help sponsor the show, give us a call, give us a shout out. We'll get you on there as well. So, once again, another episode of Boys from the Wheel podcast. We'll see you next time.